on 95.3 FM in Windhoek, Desert Radio. The Bold One.
Well, the time on the clock is 8:20, and we're just about to get into another conversation for the morning as we work ourselves up to that 9 o'clock hour, and that is around the time that we will have to say goodbye. But before then, we are now joined by Kauna Ndilula. She's an SME ecosystem development specialist and the executive director of Business Financial Solutions, that is BFS. Good morning, Kauna. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. How's the morning starting off?
Starting off fairly calm.
Fairly calm. That's good to hear. It's a Tuesday. It doesn't need to be too stressful, just starting off easy. Now, Kauna, let's just get started from the beginning. I like to ask people, their origin story, who they are, where they're coming from before we get into the things that are a bit too serious. So just tell us, who is Kauna away from boardrooms and the business world?
Well, it's interesting that the show is the Desert Radio because when I'm asked who I am or what I identify with, I always say I identify as being a child of the desert.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I was born in Swakopmund, but
Alright.
raised between Wolfish Bay and Aranda. So the three towns really shaped who I am
Okay.
and the interactions I've had across life and the different people I met. And the influences, obviously, that defined who I became. I was privileged to go to school at Colin Foundation. I'm actually a founder student
Okay.
of Colin, not
Alright.
Colin Foundation, but Colin High School.
High school, yeah.
And that meant that we had an education that exposed us to, I'll say, quality English, but also people from different walks of life. We had interns coming in from the UK, we had interns coming in from South Africa. So our level of exposure was definitely preparing us for the future.
100%.
In fact, to the extent that when I registered at UNAM, which was then an Afrikaans institution, I registered as an English student. It was the academy then. But let me cut the story short. I am big on family, both my children and extended family. I studied social development initially, went back to school to study development economics. And the reason I did that was 5 years into my job, I realized that I need to find a way to teach and coach and support my own people in how they create value for themselves, put bread on their children's table. So I did an MA in development economics, and then I did an MBA in business, basically. And I used my thesis of my MBA to start Business Financial Solutions.
Oh, wow.
So the journey has been informed, I believe, by my experiences and being in tune. I would say. People always ask me, did you know you were going to be a business person?
Yeah,
I'd say no.
actually.
And I'd say no, because I think I have just been present and used the environment and the opportunities and the learnings to inform my next activity or position.
So speaking on that, when you were nearing your completion of high school, what options did you have in your mind of what you wanted to do? What were you thinking about?
I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Wait, was that by your own accord, or was that influenced by, parents, people around you saying go into the medical field?
No.
You're really interested.
I was interested because I was a strong science and math student.
Okay.
And the good thing is I'm very grateful for my mom because she was a liberal person
Okay.
and never really told us what to do,
Yeah.
Okay.
but kind of gave us the tools to decide what we want to do. I didn't make my math grade that I wanted. In fact, we didn't have teachers in the
Ish.
last year of high school, so I didn't have a math
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
So I didn't make my grade. It was a big disappointment. But when I look back at my journey, I have no regrets having started out with social work because I think it gives you the tools of life to actually navigate any other discipline that you may take on.
And with that said, even though you didn't meet that math grade at the time, look at you now.
Yeah.
You are working in finance and with
Yeah.
numbers. So
know.
it kind of came full circle, right?
know.
And speaking of that, with the Business Financial Solutions, BFS, you started that entity 12 years ago. If I'm not mistaken, it is 12 years? Yeah.
14.
14
14,
years,
wow.
yeah. And in your capacity as the managing director and trustee of BFS Fund Manager, you conceptualized and developed the Namibia Procurement Fund, that's Nampro Fund, the trade finance model, which has invested more than 1.7 billion in more than 300 Namibian SMEs, creating more than 6,000 jobs. So, I mean, you've done a lot in terms of, merging your finance and then also your background in development. And you are seeing yourself as, a top executive. But as you also mentioned, you're a family person, you are a mother at home. So, talk to us a little bit about balancing all of those things. How do you go about it? How do you do that?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm qualified to give any advice on that.
Mm,
But what I've done throughout is that I try and spend quality time with my children.
mm,
I also try to bring them, if it's possible for me to have a child at a workshop and keep them busy with other activities,
mm,
I do that because I believe that kids need to be part of our integral life and they shouldn't necessarily feel that they're second thought.
mm,
But I also was privileged to have my sisters
mm,
around when my kids were young. And they basically really supported me in raising the kids. And when I couldn't make it, I couldn't be there as a mother for a week because I was very committed. My sisters would actually take my kids for the
Yeah.
week and be the mother that they are.
Yeah.
mm.
But other than the work, I'm a very committed family person. So I make time and I hope that the time I've made was adequate in investing time as a mother.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now, I'm also interested in with all the accolades and things you have done that Alana mentioned, and trying to balance between work and family as well. If you could give advice to a young girl out there that looks at you and your career path and wants to emulate it, how would you advise them to go through the route as smooth as possible, and also trying to balance between being very committed to work in business, but also trying to be as much as a family person and social person as possible.
I think women need to know that it's okay to be both.
Mm.
And the world today is more advanced
Mhm.
than even when I was in my 20s.
Mm.
So women must pursue their dreams. But being a career woman does not mean that you can't be a woman and you can't be a mother.
Mm.
I think when we look at these things as choices and the one offsets the other, we will find an imbalance later in our lives.
Yeah.
So we must embrace the capability that we, as God created people, women, I mean,
Yeah.
and men,
Yeah.
are given because we have the ability to multitask and we have the ability to do a lot of things.
Mhm.
Today, you find scientists that are actually accountants. You
Mm.
find
Mm.
engineers who go and specialize in a soft skill field. It's because our brain capacity and our body capacity is made such that we can do more than one thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And society need to embrace that. And women just need to know that as you go up the ladder, just be you.
Mhm.
Many a times we try to be like men in the boardroom. We try to speak like a man. We try
Mhm.
to walk like a man. We try to dress like a man. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
Over time, the gender balance work out, and people recognize your capability.
Mhm.
But it doesn't have to be a fight. It just have to be your journey.
Mm. And with that said, as a woman in an industry, like many industries that have in the past been so dominated by men, what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced as you've been climbing the ladder?
I mean, I've been many a times the only woman in the boardroom.
I
Mm.
can
I've been
imagine.
many a times the only black in the boardroom.
Mm.
Mm,
But I've come to appreciate that um, the one thing that creates the difference shouldn't be your focus
mm,
of action.
Mhm.
And over time, you will have that. I've been in workplaces where clearly my gender and color has been a problem,
mm,
and people made it clear they don't want me there. But what I've always tried to understand is who matters.
mm.
What are your significant others? And whose opinions should you really take into consideration?
Yeah.
So if I've got a colleague who doesn't like me, that's okay. Because my colleagues never needed, I didn't need their approval to
Yeah.
be in a
Yeah.
workplace.
Yeah.
I needed the approval of the person that employs me.
Mhm.
And that has been my journey really. I've had an uphill battle, but I've always enjoyed that because it gave me the opportunity to be creative in the different workplaces I have. So yeah, and that discrimination doesn't only come from people of different gender or different color. It comes from people of your own color. Being in finance and presenting to a group of entrepreneurs or a black executive male in the beginning of PFS wasn't easy. People will want to discount your price, but it's one has to reflect on your own value and be able to walk away from a transaction. If somebody doesn't value you and they don't recognize your contribution, I guess spending time to convince them once more is enough.
Yeah,
Twice more shouldn't be.
definitely.
That's some good advice,
Yeah.
actually.
if you're just tuning in to Desert Radio 95.3 FM, we are talking to Kauna Ndilula, who is an SME ecosystem development specialist and the executive director of the Business Financial Solutions, the BFS. Kauna, let's just quickly shift gears a bit and talk SMEs, talk the economy a bit. I mean, as an expert in SME financing and a seasoned manager, how do you think the Namibian SME sector at this point can be revived post COVID-19, which basically put all of us on our backside for a good what
2 years.
2 years, yeah,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
when everyone's been struggling, but particularly the SME industry.
Um, Again, linking to the theme, Namibia is kind of like a savanna land. So the desert savanna land landscape is not going to create the critical mass we need to move this country forward. So we really need to invest as a collective in strengthening the ecosystem for SMEs. And that means that when there's good ideas, there must be idea generation platforms that don't just share those ideas, but actually create an opportunity for those ideas to come to fruition.
Okay.
And that is both from the public sector and the private sector. I do not believe that we have done enough as a country
Yeah.
to support small businesses. When it comes to developed countries, you'll find that there's a lot of government funding in incubation. Then you have private sector coming in with angel funding, and this refers to people who've actually made it in their respective countries, who plows back and say, "Let me extend a helping hand to somebody below me and pull them up." And they put their own money that they've made in their countries back into supporting young entrepreneurs. And angel funding is actually lacking significantly in this market. I also believe that public support in terms of just structural interventions is lacking. Now, the question is, when's the best time to plant a tree? It was 20 years ago, but the best
Yeah.
time to plant a tree is now. So I can only speak for what BFS could be doing and what we will be doing, and call on other players in the field to similarly, I'll say, pull their weight. But from our side, we're open for business. We support small businesses in terms of credit facilities. Those that are in procurement finance, we in the market for an equity fund, so we will soon be making a call for proposal on that. But the beauty that every entrepreneur need to tap on now is the fact that the world's eyes are focused on Namibia, and that means that creates opportunities. How do entrepreneurs position themselves to optimize on those opportunities? I think one, we need to read a little bit more. We're very auditory people. We want to hear that you can go here and there.
Yeah.
But success only come if you do X number of hours. Whether it's a tennis player or it's a swimmer
Yeah.
or it's a carpenter. A carpenter's excellent work speaks to the number of hours he's invested. And young people need to embrace that philosophy. It doesn't change. Nothing replaces hard work. So be present. We must read. We must participate in discussions where these opportunities are being unpacked. What does it mean for the oil funds? What does hydrogen mean? What does energy mean for
Yeah.
Namibian entrepreneurs? But let's create access to information so that people can have more opportunities. But I think there's a bigger call on entrepreneurs to just do more than what they are doing presently.
Yeah.
But the
And-
future is definitely brighter.
Yeah. And with that said, if you can maybe give us, I think realistically, maybe like a 5 year plan or goals as to where you see the enterprise that is BFS, and what you see BFS achieving in the coming 5 years.
Well, my vision has always been to set up BFS as an all-around service provider to SMEs. We've done debt finance. We run an incubation studio. We've got very structured enterprise development support services. We are working on a solution that provides long-term funding. So hopefully, should I say maybe early next year, we will be able to share what our new platform would be.
Okay.
But I see BFS as a regional player. I see BFS as a sub-Saharan player. I believe we have very unique SME support capabilities that are not only meaningful to Namibian entrepreneurs, but African entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
All right, and just to switch gears a bit again, you are a board member in one of the country's top performing state-owned enterprise, that's Nampo, right? Just to get your assessment as somebody who's in an SOE of the adherence to corporate governance principles in SOEs by both board members and by management. What do you think the status of that is right now in the country?
I retired from Nampower,
Oh, okay.
but I can, I guess, still comment on
Yeah.
governance. I think a lot is being done in ensuring corporate governance and creating capacities at boards
Mm.
that supports management in ensuring good corporate governance.
Okay.
For my tenure at Nampower,
Mm.
that was also part of my focus to create an ecosystem that is functional, where management and board coexist,
Yeah.
where there's a clear strategy and clear role definition.
Mhm.
And I think if boards are not clear about that, it can create conflict. It can create confusion with executive management.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when we see malpractices or poor management or poor functioning of SOEs, it's not always a case of executive.
Mm.
It's also a case of of boards as well.
Yeah.
And therefore the selection of good board members, that not just on the basis of skill, but also on the basis of commitment to the enterprise.
Mhm.
Do I really go there to do what's best for the organization, or do I go there to watch out what's good for me?
Mm.
And I think this ethical call is for all of us as Namibians, but I'm very optimistic about the future of SOEs.
Mm.
I think there's a few obviously that's struggling,
Mhm.
and mainly financially. But yeah, we need to learn to be lean and mean,
Mhm.
and take off excess as a country. But we need to find opportunities for those excess resources that need to be weaned off. I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest challenge that we're facing as a country. But yeah, corporate governance is a very, very important feature or character in an organization if we do want to build organizations that holds the future for your children.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's quite a positive outlook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mhm.
Now, Kauna, before we let you go, because we are running a little bit short of time, but I like to spend the last few minutes of the show, just getting to know you on a personal level. And to do that, I'm going to ask you this question. We have a standard question that we ask all our guests, and it has to do with being stuck in the desert. But this one has been tailored a little bit for you. And we're going to ask you, if you were to be stuck in the desert with one Namibian, who would it be and why? And it can be anybody. Anybody that you would like to be stuck in the desert with. You just have to provide us with a reason.
Sure, that's a tough one. Because I would probably choose to be with my children,
Mm.
Okay.
and I have 3.
Oh,
Okay.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
we can make an exception
can
to that
work.
because you
That
can't
can
leave
work.
any of the children
Exactly.
behind. You can't leave any of the
That can
children
work.
behind. And the reason being, I mean, aside from them being your children,
Mhm.
Spending time with them is important for me, and
Yeah.
I don't get enough time to spend with them. So
Mm.
if I have an opportunity to be stuck somewhere,
Mhm.
that will be my opportunity to also make up time.
Absolutely. Well, Kauna, thank you so much for coming in this morning. It's been a pleasure to talk a little bit about BFS and also to just get to know you a little bit better outside of the business maven that you are.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.